Father Simon and the Unvindictive Collective. Having recently heard the confession of the young man who ruptured his gusset during an interview...
That makes it sound painful, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but it was, it was quite a fun tale, that was. I was prompted, says John, to share a similar tale of a business trip to Amsterdam.
Oh, yes, already this is a good one.
There are a few confessions which start like that and they never get further than the in-tray. As a 3-day visit to see a client loomed, and having more than a plentiful experience of small city airports and budget airlines, I resolved to travel in this instance with hand luggage only. This would take some doing, as my work laptop alone was about the size of a well-known celebrity-endorsed grilling device. I spent a good deal of my Sunday deciding on the essentials and what I could practically do without. I decided that I could accomplish this trip with but a single pair of trousers. I carefully selected a stout and rugged pair, which were both semi-smart but also casual, the sort of thing that Bear Grylls might wear while giving lecture tours. Really? Okay, if you say so, John.
Pretty specific, that, really, isn't it?
It is.
Not when he's out on the outside, it's when he's giving the lecture tours.
Do you have any trousers, please? I'd like the kind that Bear Grylls might wear if he's going to go on a lecture tour. The trousers were suitable for hanging around in airports, says John, squashing up on the plane, striding the streets of Amsterdam, and most importantly, standing up in front of a major international client and providing a comprehensive and professional training session. On arriving at my hotel, I showered and dressed to go forth and explore. This was one of those hotels that had neither room service or indeed a restaurant. As I put on my trousers, I felt a peculiar grating around the crotch area. And haven't got going, really.
I love the way that makes you laugh.
And realised to my horror that the zipper had given way. Perhaps Bear Grylls would not have selected these trousers after all.
This is great. Oh, yes.
It's a West End farce already. I panicked and phoned my wife, who, while sympathetic to my plight, was unable to offer any resistance.
What's she going to do? She's back home. This is brilliant.
Well, she might have been able to explain, I know, emergency needle care, I don't know. Having noted that the welcome card in the hotel room advised that sewing kits were available from reception, I ventured gingerly downstairs to acquire one. Eventually a sewing kit was produced, much like the sort of thing that you might have the misfortune to find in an economy Christmas cracker. As luck would have it, it contained a number of safety pins. As such, I was able to secure myself adequately to venture out and find something to eat.
He's still going out. He's insisting, I must go out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must go out, even though...
Why can't he just buy some new trousers, for goodness sake?
Exactly.
He addresses that shortly. Whilst exploring the city, I also kept my eye open for some more robust safety pins. But although I found many colourful and interesting things for sale, safety pins do not seem to feature high on the agenda. Ask your parents. On returning to the hotel, I was dismayed to see that my cheapo safety pins had given way, and that I had come dangerously close to an international incident affecting the good people of Amsterdam. Worse, this is where it gets difficult. The twisted remains of the safety pins had tangled themselves into the fabric of my trousers, making them impossible to remove. So now they'd become my pyjamas.
What, the trousers or the safety pins?
The trousers.
Okay.
Yes.
He can't get the trousers off now.
So now they've become my pyjamas. Sleeping was tricky as I kept lying on a sharp-pointed piece of wire.
Well, how can he go to the loo?
We addressed that point as well.
Okay.
The next morning, trousers were now truly crumpled. There was no alternative but to sew the fly shut with the remains of the sewing kit. Not being a seamstress, threading a needle at 7 in the morning wasn't a simple exercise, particularly as I was still wearing the trousers. Extreme care was needed. As luck would have it, as part of my space-saving initiative, I had opted for polo shirts as opposed to dress shirts, which went some way, but not all the way, to concealing the problem. I reasoned that I would have to sew the fly about halfway shut. This took some doing, but the finished result, while ugly, was solid and dependable, a bit like Stoke City, says John, which is not a bad gag, really. The problem, then, was the fact that I now had trousers which were essentially welded to my body. Going to the toilet was a huge deal. It was a battle, and a battle that was repeated over the next few days every time nature called. I spent so long locked in a cubicle, everyone thought I had dysentery. I did consider buying some new ones, see?
Yeah.
But they were very expensive, so instead found a way at last to ease my delicately soft body over the metallic obstacle course that my trousers had become. It took 30 minutes to get off and 20 to get back on again. Plasters at the ready. With my polo shirts hanging out, I managed to get through the 3 days of training without, I think, hanging out myself and upsetting the nice ladies from the finance department. But this wasn't the end of the story. As I returned to Amsterdam Airport for the flight home, I approached security with my jet-setting know-how, effortlessly removing my watch, belt, car keys, whipping my laptop and liquid items from my hand luggage. I then stood and tutted with the rest about those who were less in the know as the queue wound forward. Approaching the security barrier, and this was one of those things like an upright MRI scanner as opposed to a simple metal detector, it occurred to me that I had a large number of sharp metallic objects protruding from my groin, the remains of the safety pins that were impossible to remove. Given the heightened nature of airport security at the time, I started to sweat badly at this point. Visions of security personnel pointing and probing at my nethers before the shuffling crowd grew in my mind. By the time I got to security, I was in such a blind panic. It was a miracle that I made it through it all. I decided to tell the truth, and I told the man that I had many pins in my pants. And explained what...
Sending Matt over the edge.
And explained what had happened. I've got to get this next sentence out. Okay. Stop. I offered him a look. But he was laughing too hard at this point. He ran his metal scanner over my groin to confirm my story, laughed again, and sent me through. So I would seek forgiveness from the lovely ladies at the finance department who were blissfully unaware that they were but a polo shirt away from a full-blown harassment incident, and also to the security staff at the airport who came dangerously close to investigating something which may have required tetanus jabs. But they had a laugh anyway. You may be pleased to hear that the following visit I went to a seamstress, and the trousers are now properly recovered. Just buy some new ones next time. It's very easy. They're about, 15 quid or 20 quid or something? Splash out, 30 quid. Get 2 pairs. Well, thank you, John. Got through it in the end. Sister Rebecca.
So he's still got these trousers. I mean, he's had them mended. Even though he had safety pins stuck in them, he had to sew them up himself a couple of times, and he was welded to them
Waste
for a
not,
few days.
want not. These are
Waste
tough
not,
times.
No, absolutely. But I'm sure he could have just bought a new pair of trousers, really. You know, maybe for £10, rather than go through this charade. And the thing at the airport. I mean, that was quite funny, actually, the bit at the airport. But I think the ladies in the finance department didn't even know anything was up, did they? So they weren't harmed.
No, they weren't
the guys
harmed,
at the airport were fine. So no harm done. John, you are forgiven.
Yeah, no, I think everyone seemed to have quite a good time apart from John. Brother Matt.
That is superb, isn't it? Let's be honest, the security people at Amsterdam Airport have seen far worse than that, I'm going to say, of people leaving Amsterdam with pins in their pants. What a line that is. If you put "I had pins in my pants" into any confession, you're always going to get forgiven. We're definitely going to... I mean, he's a little bit tight-fisted with he won't shell out for a new pair of pants. But the fact that he's kept them, well done, sir, for keeping them. But it's obviously a conversation piece. When things start going dull at dinner, then you can always whip out those pants and tell them about the story about me having pins in my pants. So I'm going to forgive, because I know it's really brightened my